Welcome to the College Basketball Pub Hub, Pub Sports Radio, Saturday, February 25th. Ian Cameron, Conor, Mac, Daby, Cab. We're here ready for a big Saturday. This is the last full Saturday of college basketball in the regular season because there's some of the smaller conferences that are done after this weekend, and they're going into their conference tournaments, which will begin later this week. And then next week, the rest of the conferences will begin their conference tournaments. So we're winding down here. We basically got a week and a change left of regular season, and then it's on to conference tournaments for everybody, and of course the big dance itself. So let's get into it. We got a big card. We will begin, of course, with the early games as we always do here on a Saturday, and we will begin at the top of the card with Creighton and Villanova, a good one in the Big East. Creighton 2.5-point road favorites, 135 the total in this game. Certainly when you look at this matchup here from a Villanova standpoint, it's a team that really ever since they got healthier in the middle part of January, they've definitely played some better basketball. I think they're playing their best basketball of the season right now. 4 of their last 5 the games they've won. They won at home against DePaul, Seton Hall, Butler. In those games, they lost at Providence, but they got a big-time road win at Xavier in their last game. So they're definitely playing their best basketball, but they're going to have to play real well here against this very good Creighton team, albeit Creighton coming off a loss at home to Marquette in their last game. So looking to bounce back here in this one. While Villanova's playing well, I kind of lean Creighton here. I do think they're the better of these two teams. And you look at Villanova's home wins, they haven't beaten anyone of the caliber of Creighton. Creighton off a loss, so it's not like Creighton's coming in here not ready to go. I think the Marquette loss kind of gets them going. So, this number initially I was going to pass, but it's come down to 2.5. Maybe a little Creighton money line for me because I still think they're better than Villanova. What do you think here, C-Mac?
Yeah, it seems like public here is just take Creighton, and this come down basically a half a point and just stuck. I want to take Nova, but I'm going to be off. I haven't taken him much, Babano. I know you've taken him a little bit more. Let's speak of more. He's finally playing better. The last few games, he looks like himself. It took him, I think, the first 4 or 5 to get rolling. He didn't look right. So if he has a big game, I think Nova could be in it. But like you said, Creighton's a better team here. I'm off.
And off a loss. So I think Creighton there's no reason for them not to bring it here today after a tough setback against Marquette. What do you think here, Cab? Muted number 1.
It's going to happen 100 times today. The over-under needs to be about 1,000 today, just so everybody knows. I'm kind of in line with you on that one. But my way of doing it is by cutting it down to the first half. I went ahead and laid it with Creighton in the first half here. I know the Big East, it's one of those conferences where it's a good conference. I mean, you've got your high-ranked teams, and then you got your other teams that are, like Villanova, who aren't shit, but you know what? On any given night, they can pretty much beat anybody. It's a good conference. And I know Villanova's at home here, but you said it, they really haven't done much at home. And the big difference in this game is Creighton's size. Creighton has so much more size than Villanova, and I think Creighton's going to dominate the boards. And I like taking a team that, is coming off a loss, really needs a win when there's a size advantage and a board advantage. So I got Creighton in the first half here.
All right, Creighton first half here for Cab in this matchup here. A good one, though, to get the day started here, Creighton and Villanova. All right, Clemson and NC State next up. We've got in the ACC, Clemson with a big win against Syracuse in their last game. NC State, 6-point home favorites, 148.5 the total in this one. I kind of lean NC State at home. I don't trust Clemson at home, on the road, I should say. I never really have. I kind of have a lean to the Wolfpack, but what I did bet here was the total. I think over the total is worth a look. It's always a little tricky with these early games. We've talked about this for a long time. Sometimes those games the shooting's not there, even though you think it's an over type of matchup, but I'm still going to take it because this does feel like an over type of matchup. Clemson just put up a 90 spot on Syracuse, and they are a pretty good offensive team. They haven't played the same amount of defense. It's kind of the same way with NC State. Very good offensive team. Defense comes and goes. Should be some pace on both sides. So over 148 for me here with Clemson, NC State. Conor, what do you like here?
I lean that way, but I don't know if it gets there. So I'm going to stay off, even though I think there's some points. NC State, I can't get over the 15-1 at home. This team's just been very, very good. I want Clemson. Clemson's owned them. They've beat them 4 straight. And they played better on the road, but man, I know the years past, Clemson kind of automatic fade. I think this might be too many points. One thing, Clemson, if they're in it, I think they'll be in it, and it'll be a close game. They do have good free throw shooting, so I think they can hang around. And usually it's early, because if they get blown out, it could be quick, and they just get their ass whipped by 20. So maybe look at it live this game.
All right, Cab.
So, I was impressed that Clemson was able to bounce back against Syracuse, because I think that, they might have fucked their NCAA tournament hopes by that loss to Louisville. That was bad. That was a bad loss for them. And but what both of you have been talking about, when we look at the Wolfpack, they've won 10 straight home games, and Clemson right here has failed to cover the spread in 5 straight road games. They're kind of just trending in opposite directions here on these teams. But yeah, when you look at some of the numbers, especially the free throw percentage, Clemson's like Stemax just said, 79.4% free throw team. That's third in the country, so they're good at the charity stripe. If they stay in this game, I think Clemson keeps it close. So I'm off, though. I'm off completely on this one, but I can understand both sides.
All right, there we go. Good stuff. All right, next up, we continue along here. It is, let me just see. There we go. UConn St. John's in the Big East. We've got UConn 7-point road favorites, 152 the total. Don't really have much here. Don't feel totally comfortable laying 7 on the road with UConn, although I will give them credit. That was damn impressive against Providence on their home floor earlier this week. They blew out a very, very good Providence team. That's the Creighton that could be in the Final Four. That Creighton can be in the final, or that UConn, I should say, can be in the Final Four. But again, they had those little, those big time struggles earlier. And shout out, by the way, to Occupancy in the chat, new member. I just realized not only a new member, but this is someone that's watched my hockey show, The Ice Guys, for years, and now he's coming over to Pub. So I love seeing it. Occupancy, shout out to you.
My guy put me on some money last night too. I'm not a huge Taylor, but he said, "Hey, it's not for the faint of heart. Islanders plus 2.5, Cab." I said, fuck it. I'm tailing with you, Occupancy, and we cashed. So let's go.
There you go. Great stuff. Good to see him. Good guy. And getting back to this game, I'm off the game. There's no reason to talk about it any further. St. John's, look, I was wrong. I took Georgetown the other night. It was a bad bet. St. John's was just the better team. But now you're playing UConn, one of the best teams in the conference. And St. John's hasn't exactly played great against the better teams in the Big East. So totally off this game either way. I guess I would lean slightly to UConn if I had to, because I like the way they're playing right now, but I don't want to lay 7 and the over as well, but I'm off it. What do you think here, Connor?
I'm off. It's just what you just said, but they haven't beat anybody. A Georgetown win isn't anything, and an overtime win over DePaul. I wish the St. John's team had a little bit more grit, played a little defense. I'd like to be on them here, but they don't.
Soft they are. Yeah.
So I'm off.
All right, Cab. He's muted again. Number 2.
I'm off too. I did kind of look at UConn in the first half here, but I didn't bet it. Because you said it, they look like they found their form back that last game against Providence at home. But that was Providence, big game to get up for. My problem with UConn is just that inconsistency this year. They've been just way too up and down for me. And they've only covered the spread 4 times in their last 15 road games. So, this is getting to where it's like, earlier when we were capping, you wouldn't hear me throw out trends as much, but now it's starting to get to the point where these trends are like, why the fuck would we not throw them out? Because these trends are important. And this UConn team's not really covering on the road. I don't think St. John's is going to win this game again. They countered UConn's size in the first games, but it's just, does UConn win by double digits? I don't know. And I'm not going to, there's too much action on the board to bet for, me to worry about this.
All right, next up, we've got Michigan State, Iowa. Iowa up to 5.5 now, 6 even in some spots now, and the total 146.5 here. Certainly, I can understand the sentiment here. Iowa at home. This is a lot more trustworthy of a team, obviously, than we've seen recently on the road, 13-2. Again, we talk about this. This is like a repetitive theme with the Big Ten. Better at home than on the road. You could put that across the board out of all these damn teams. It's ridiculous. Nobody can win on the road in this conference, or very few can. They lost at Northwestern and Wisconsin, back-to-back road games. Michigan State, very emotional environment. That was obviously the first home game on campus at the Breslin Center, East Lansing, after the tragic shooting on campus when they beat Indiana 80-65 earlier this week. You could tell that was their spot. Now, is there a emotional letdown and hangover following that emotional night that they had beating Indiana. That's very possible here. So I get the situational bettors coming in here on Iowa. But at the end of the day, do I want to lay points with Iowa of this size? I don't know. But I understand it. It definitely feels like an Iowa spot, but I'm off. What do you think here, Connor?
Yeah, 4.5 is a lot better than 5.5, but I'd lay it here. I think they match up better against Michigan State. They played them close with that 2-point game at Michigan State. I think this is where you want them. Just they fade on the road, take them here, they'll shoot it better. So, yeah, I like Iowa here.
All right, Cab.
This is CMAC nailed that, man. Iowa at home can shoot the basketball. And this is a Michigan team. I know Michigan put up 80 against Indiana last game, but still on the season, they're averaging 68.5 points per game. That's 266 in the country. And they don't really do much, at a high clip. They do shoot the three, all right, but everything else, they're just lackluster on offense, even from the free throw line. And Iowa, the one thing that they do is put up points, especially at home. I think this is a good spot where Iowa probably people, even though things have been going bad, people are going to be excited for this game against Michigan State. They're going to get up for it. I think Iowa can cover this spread. I just haven't bet this one either.
All right, so a lean to Iowa. Just hasn't bet it yet. Here is Cab with this one. All right, we go to Oklahoma, Iowa State here in the Big 12. Hilton Magic, Hilton Coliseum. We've got Iowa State here laying a pretty sizable number, laying about 7 in this game. 7, pretty much 7 across the board. 128 the total. I don't bet against Iowa State at home, so for me it's Iowa State or pass. But you're laying a decent sized number against an Oklahoma team that, while they've struggled, they slow the game down. They can play solid defense, although they haven't exactly done so lately. I mean, 82 to Baylor, 93 to West Virginia, 78 to Kansas. They lose to Texas Tech and give up 74 and over 50% shooting in that game. So this Oklahoma defense is kind of falling apart. And another concern with laying 7 with Iowa State is their current form has kind of gone downhill a little bit. They've lost 4 of their last 5 games. Failed to cover 4 of their last 5 as well. So I'd lean Iowa State. It does feel, this definitely feels like they could smack down Oklahoma. They're off 2 road losses back home. And keep in mind, not only have they been very strong at home all year, but last home game against TCU, they won by 11. So feels like an Iowa State spot. Doesn't feel like a number, though, that is bargain filled enough for me to bet. What do you think here, Connor?
It's not. I think they got to get out just and beat that ass, because I just start getting 7.5 the way they shoot free throws, 67%. If it is close, I don't want them. But they were 13-1 at home, or even better than that. Oklahoma, even though they're 3-5 against the number, they're 1-7 on the road. I don't trust them, so I'd lay it if I had to.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I don't want any part of Oklahoma. So Iowa State or nothing for me. It's just a question of, do I want to lay 7? I might. I still might. I'm debating, but right now I first looked at it, I'm like -7. Ooh, was hoping for a little bit cheaper. What do you think here, Cab? Muted. You're muted.
Just let them roll.
I think it's a first half if we're going to go with Iowa State, like CMAC said, just simply because the free throws is what CMAC just touched on. 67.3%, 315th in the nation for Iowa State. I don't like laying 7.5 or 6.5 points with a team that can't fucking shoot free throws, because if they're up by 5 at the end of the game, you know exactly what's going to happen. The other team's going to foul them, and they're going to fucking go 1 for 1, and you're going to miss by the hook or some shit like that. And I don't really like that. So I'd be looking at Iowa State first half if I bet this game. And you said that I don't go against Iowa State at home. I know they're only 1-8 away from home. Terrible, but they're 13-1 at home. So at home, this is where this team, takes care of business. And like you said, off 2 losses, they might be looking to smash. But you got to make free throws to do that. So I'm off this game.
This is the spot, real quick. 4 or 5 they've lost. Iowa State. They need to win this big, and I think they do. It's just they're not playing great.
They aren't. That's the other hang up that I've got with betting Iowa State here. The form is not good right now, but I still think they're better than Oklahoma. They're off 2 road losses. It feels like a spot to just wake up, play a good game against a beatable team and win by double digits, which they're capable of doing. They've won a lot of blowouts. And remember what they did to Kansas in this building? earlier this year. So
I
they're
remember.
very capable of doing that. No doubt about it. All right. Next up, we've got, this is a good one here. TCU and the red hot, and I mean red hot Texas Tech Red Raiders. I've been waiting for this team to finally get their ass in gear. Man, do they have it going right now. Mark Adams' team has turned things around. They're 2-point home favorites, 144.5. I'm riding the wave again with Texas Tech. This is one of probably my strongest early side is this one at -135. Home money line here on Texas Tech. I like the way they're playing right now. And I can't say the same about TCU. Look, they got Mike Miles back, and they didn't really play all that great when they got him back. I thought that Kansas game at home on Monday was a very disappointing performance from TCU. Fell flat. They ended up getting, Duggan, there you go. Max Duggan, the Heisman winner, strolls into the game in the second half from some ceremony wearing a tuxedo. You think, hey, maybe that's going to get TCU stimulated here for the latter stages of that game. And they actually played worse once he got there and sat down in his seat. It was pretty funny to witness that. But, yeah, they're not playing as well right now, TCU. They're going on the road to a tough environment, to a Texas Tech team playing with extreme confidence right now. They got their mojo back. They're shooting the ball better. Their defense is starting to lock in again. I like Texas Tech here to just pick up the win, -130 to 35 here on the money line. What do you think here, Conor?
Yeah, and I think you laid the 2. I mean, all the money's on them. This thing hasn't moved at all. I thought this might get 2.5, 3. I don't love that. You mentioned Miles is back, could help out, but I think Texas Tech, they win this and a couple more. I mean, they get it now into the dance. Even they've ripped off against good teams these wins, so a play should be rocking. I think it's Tech or nothing. 2 teams in the different directions. Got to take them.
It's one of those games, too, where it's such a huge game for Texas Tech. If they win it, it might be enough to punch their dance ticket. It might be. That they're like, I don't think they should take anything for granted. They might already be the last 4 in or something like that now. But I think when you look at it, this would really, really help their cause in terms of strengthening their NCAA tournament resume if they beat TCU here today at home, which I think they will. I think,
2 weeks ago they were out. I mean, sure. I mean,
yeah. And that's what we get at this time of year. We get teams that make that late season run, and they somehow find their way into the tournament. Missouri and Georgia. Georgia will not be one of those teams that will probably make a late season run and get in. Missouri, 3.5-point road favorites, 152 the total in this game. I mean, Georgia, at home at times they've actually snuck up on teams and pulled some upsets, but man, they got annihilated in those 2 games against Arkansas and Alabama. My goodness, it was ugly for this Georgia team. But there's something that's leery about Missouri laying points on the road. That defense comes and goes. I think the total is probably the better route here, the over, because Georgia's defense has quit. Georgia's defense has been absolutely shredded, gutted here these last couple of games. And Missouri's an excellent offensive team. What could they do to this Georgia team? But Georgia could score on a Missouri team that, again, defense travels. Their defense doesn't always travel, Missouri. So total's been bumped up 151 to 152. I agree. Conor, what do you like here?
This may be for the over. I think the line's pretty sharp where it's at because you mentioned Georgia. I mean, 108, 97. Wow. I think Missouri could easily have 85. So I just think at that number, it might stay under, it might get over. And I don't want Missouri laying points on the road. I'm just off here.
All right, good stuff. Next up here is Arizona State, Arizona battle, in-state battle here. We've got Arizona laying double digits here in this game, total 152 across the board. You look at this matchup here, Arizona is certainly playing some really good basketball. They had that one game where they kind of slipped up at Stanford, but other than that, they have been really good. And you know what's great, and I'm sure Tommy Lloyd agrees with me, the defense is starting to show up for Arizona. And that's going to be the key for them.
Need it.
We know they can score. We know they can score 80, 90 on anybody. We know that already about Arizona. They're gifted. They're a gifted team offensively, what they can do. They're so fun to watch. Just play a little bit of defense. You don't even have to be like a top 5 defensive team in the country. Just play a little bit. And the offense, which is so friggin' awesome, will take care of the rest for Arizona. So that's the key. And they're starting to play with that defensive intensity and mindset. These two teams, Arizona won 69-60 in Tempe earlier this year. You look at the meetings last year, we saw 91-79 for Arizona at ASU, and then Arizona won 67-56 at home. Arizona State was a huge dog. They covered in that game, and we'll see how they fare here. The one thing about Arizona State is they've obviously had their struggles. The wins were against a depleted Utah team at home, Cal, who stink, Stanford, who are erratic. Against some of the better teams, though, in the conference, we see them lose and not cover against UCLA, USC, Oregon. I don't trust them enough. That's a lot of points you're getting with them, but I don't trust them enough, Arizona State. So I'm off the game. I would lean over, if anything. What do you think here, Conor?
I just don't trust them, too. This team they don't shoot the three well. For them, the record, they have the record
Not
they
done
have.
well against the better Pac-12 teams. That's the key. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think they played over their head early on. And then Arizona, this is, at home. It's just, do they cover here? That's all I think. They cover this big 12.5. But I think the points come in handy. I'm going to stay off, though, in the end.
All right, going to stay off here is Conor for this one. All right, next up as we continue along, we have Louisville, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech 6-point home favorites here in this game. I'm on Louisville again. I'm riding the wave. 6-1 ATS their last 7 games. I mean, that's Louisville now is at that finally that time of year where there's actually value to back them. They're playing better. They're playing with some confidence. They just got inside the number against Duke, but they were covering that entire basketball game. That would have been a tough beat on Louisville if they didn't cover against Duke. But they played well enough. They were competitive enough. And look, is Georgia Tech a team that we should be trusting laying 6 points against anybody? I'm not so sure about that. So again, I like the way Louisville could have easily quit, early in the season. They did not. And you're seeing them now undervalued, competitive enough where they're cashing numbers as underdogs. And I think we see that here once again with Louisville. So I took them +6 here. Conor, what do you think? Louisville, Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I think they can hang around, but I'll be quick here. I'm not going to play it.
No. All right, Cab.
Man, one of my best fucking players just broke his arm. That's why I had to jump off. Idiot, man. Jumped over the fence for his baseball game since it was locked. Broke his arm. So I just lost one of my best players. Anyways, on to the game. I'm off this one. I'll leave it at that, just like C-Mac did. I'm not interested in this Louisville, Georgia Tech game. I got plenty of action today. This isn't one of the games I want to be a part of.
Arkansas, Alabama.
Cab, huh? What's this kid's name?
I'm not going to drop him on. I'm not going to put him on blast.
No
like
name
that.
drop.
No.
Jace. We don't know his last name. Jace. There we go. Jace.
Wow.
We don't know his last name.
He can't be that good if you don't know his last name.
No, I know his last name. You guys don't know his last name.
Oh,
that's what I'm saying. So I can say it, Jace. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I looked at the phone, and that's why I had to step away to call, because I was like, oh, fuck, is his arm hurt? Like, because, I'm always worried about my players' arms, right? Getting hurt.
It should be, yeah.
Because it said his arm's broken. I'm like, how'd he break his arm? It's his other arm. It's his left arm. He jumped over a fence, dummy.
Wow. Yeah, that's not smart. You're right about that. That's not smart at all. All right, next up, we've got good one here. Arkansas, Alabama. Alabama 8.5-point home favorites. High total in the 150s. I like Arkansas here. I think it's too many. I think Alabama is going to get tested today, and I'm not just saying that because they had to squeak past South Carolina, but you got to wonder. They've had a hectic week. They've had this shit going on off the court. Nate Oates coming into question and all this BS going on. You wonder if it's finally, distracting them, impacting them, taking away some of their focus. And not only that, but Arkansas is playing better now here. They've played pretty much better the last month or so. I think it's a close game. I like the Razorbacks. The Hogs. Pig Suey here, +8.5 on the road. What do you think here, Con?
Yeah, I looked at this. I think the points could be handy here because Bama brings, if they're focused with all the shit that's going on, like you mentioned, they could romp here. Even Arkansas, I think they're getting healthy, and I like how they played on the road the last month. They've been competitive in these games. Smith's back. I think it's just a few too many, too. I think this is kind of a dogfight. I like the points.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree too much. I'm off this one. Like you said, that South Carolina was almost a disaster. But they did get the win. They don't really care about the cover for us. I mean, I know they know how close it was, but they got the win. They're coming back home. At home, this is where Alabama, if you look at their averages, it's off the charts. They're elite at home. and at home they're 9-4 against the spread also. And Arkansas this season, they've been better of late, like C-Mac was saying, but they're still 2-6 ATS on the road this season. They play the same game too. They're going to push the court. They're going to push the pace a whole lot. And I just think in a really fast-paced game where both teams are pushing it, I mean, obviously I think Alabama's a better team, but like you guys said, is it too many points? I think it probably might be. I think Alabama probably wins this game by, 5, 6. I think it's just a few too many, but I haven't bet this one either.
All right. Should be a good one, though. Looking forward to that. That's one of the early games I'm looking forward to. Same with this one in the Big 12, Texas and Baylor. We've got Baylor 3.5-point home favorites. The total in this game sitting at around 1. Let me just see here. 149 pretty much across the board. 3.5. Oh, it's going up to 4. I think there's a reason for that. I can see it. If you're a situational bettor, this feels like a slam dunk Baylor spot. They're at home off 2 road losses, 2 setbacks. They're playing in revenge for a 76-71 loss to Texas earlier this season. Keep in mind that win for Texas back in January snapped a streak where Baylor had beaten Texas 5 straight games and had covered against Texas in 5 straight games. So, they had dominated Texas. Texas got the last one. That doesn't mean all of a sudden the tide's going to turn and Texas is going to, start to control things against Baylor. Baylor has got to sort out their defense. That was clearly an issue in the losses against Kansas and Kansas State. But I think at home it'll play better. And then you rely on your leaders, L.J. Cryer, Alan Flagler, and the youngster Keontae George, who's had a great, strong first year to power you through this. And they have played good basketball at home here in Waco. You look at the last 3 Big 12 home games, 3-0 straight up, 3-0 against the spread against Texas Tech, Oklahoma, and West Virginia. The line's moving toward Baylor, and I agree with it. I like Baylor here. I got -3.5. It's up to 4. I still like it at 4. What do you think, Conor?
I think it's a good bounce back here for Baylor. I might wait. Maybe this is a game I bet live. Off the 2 losses back here at home. The defense needs to get corrected. Both these teams, guard dominant, can score. So I think this game could get over the total even too. So I think I'm going to wait. I don't know if I get there in the end. I bet this one live.
All right, Cab.
I took Baylor also. I got Baylor before the line moved, so I got in with you on that with Baylor here. Like we both just said, those 2 losses on the road, they're coming back home where they're comfortable. This is a Baylor team that's 13-2 at home. Those 2 losses that they had at home came by a combined 3 points. So nothing they do at home. They take care of their court at home. And one of those 2 losses came in overtime, and you also said it here. Texas won that first meeting. That was before Baylor had their big back. Baylor didn't have their big down low. And the Longhorns here are just 4-4 on the road this season. And all 4 of those losses on the road have come by at least 7 points. With Baylor losing in Austin, I think they're out to, get some revenge here. And I just want to say something. George, I've said this before. If you're a Baylor fan, enjoy him while he's there, man, because he's not going to be there long. That's an NBA player right there. And Cryer has been fucking lights out, finally fucking shooting really well from deep. I feel like these guards might get this crowd into it here. Baylor should be rock because, Waco knows they need this win. This stadium should be rocking, and it's Texas. Yeah. They always want to beat Texas. This is an in-state rivalry here. I think these guards for Baylor could get the place rocking. I got Baylor here full game. Yeah,
Flagler was ice cold too that last game. Yeah, I think he was like 1 of 12 or something, so he should shoot it well.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't worry about them offensively come March or in the tournament. I worry about them defensively. That's where it's got to get better for Baylor. That's where they're going to win and lose. If the defense shows up like it's done in the years past when they were the championship year, they were an elite defense. They're not an elite defense this year. They got to get back to that if they're going to make a run in March. All right, Kansas State and Oklahoma State. Next up here, we've got this Big 12 matchup. It is currently Oklahoma State 3-point home favorites, 144 the total in this game. I mean, I'm going to ride the wave right now, C-Mac. We've started to talk about this on our Net Profit show through the week, that this Oklahoma State team is all of a sudden an over machine. I mean, it's really remarkable to see what's happened with them. But their defense has caved in the last 3 games. They've just struggled at that end of the floor. Their offense, which hasn't been good all year, has at least been a little bit better the last few games. It's the perfect recipe for a team to go over the total, and we've seen that. Kansas State was an earlier in the season over team, and they've kind of went the other way lately, under in their last few games. But this Oklahoma State over train, I've been riding it, and I'm going to ride it again here over 144. I don't have a strong feel for the side, but one thing's for damn sure. I'm not laying 3 with Oklahoma State and their defense falling apart the last 3 games. I'm not taking them as a favorite. No way. Now, I don't know if I'm on K-State. I may not take K-State either, but I'm certainly not going to look at Oklahoma State with that defense laying points. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, defense has gone to shit. And Thompson's got to play if you like Oklahoma State with that hamstring. He's got to be in. And they're laying points. They are at home. He'd have to be in. I don't know how 100% he'll be, 70%. So I'm off in the end. I looked at him. I don't want him.
All right, Cab.
Yeah. Same boat here for me. I'm off. Kind of think Oklahoma State here at home, but I also, that part of me that does that first half betting wants to grab the plus points with K-State in the first half. And when I'm in that situation, I stay off a game when I really could see it both ways. One thing that Oklahoma State's going to do here is they're going to hit the glass. They're a little bit better rebounding team. Their 3-point defense is very good, 37th nationally. And I think that this Wildcats team is going to just find points and times in this game, struggle scoring, and that's what we're saying is Oklahoma's defense have been a little lackluster. I think this is a spot where the defense can get right. I kind of like Oklahoma State, but I'm not betting it.
All right, it does feel like, again, this is another one of those situational spots where it kind of does favor Oklahoma State, but their form's definitely worrisome. All right, we're going to do the next 2 games because they're smaller scale games. Minnesota, Nebraska, Texas A&M, Mississippi State. I mean, I'm off Minnesota, Nebraska. I don't want to lay that many with Nebraska, but Minnesota's a hard team to back right now. Lean under in that game. A&M, Mississippi State. I like A&M. Now, I get it. This is another one where the situation maybe tilts a little to the Bulldogs, laying a near pick 'em at home, but I just think A&M's a better team. I do. And I don't think they're worried about playing on the road. I think they're a good enough team, well coached from Buzz. Defense is solid. They can go on the road, win a game like this, because I think they're flat out better than Mississippi State. So I like A&M +1 against Mississippi State. Connor, what do you like in those 2 games?
Yeah, if I had Nebraska, I'd lay it with them. Which is great. I think they could win by double digits. I don't know if I get their massive card today. Minnesota just hasn't been very good, even though they've covered some numbers on the road. I'm off this A&M Mississippi State game. I just think it's going to be a classic dogfight. Lean under. It's already gone down 3 points from 127 to 124. Should be a good one, but that's one I don't see really a great angle to bet here.
All right, Cab, Mini, Nebraska, and A&M Mississippi State.
I'll start with this. Nebraska looked good last game at home against Maryland. Looked good down low. Got some shooters, but I'm off that game, so I'm going to leave that one alone. For the first time this year, I am going to go ahead. I've been talking about it all year. I'm rocking with A&M here. I took them first half. I got plus half a point in this game. This just comes down to me here in this game here. Mississippi State wins games by hitting the boards. They win games by playing defense. They win games in the paint. And this is a spot where, I think A&M comes with that same aggression. I think that the way Buzz Williams has his team's defensive schemes playing, and I think the way he has crashing the glass, I think that, I get what you're saying, and I think you could see how this lines up for Mississippi State to come home and get right and get a win that they need. But I think A&M matches up, and I think they come out playing just as aggressive. I mean, this team, think about what happened to this team last year. And it was hard as a fan. A&M should have been in the tournament last year. I don't give a fuck what nobody says. They should have been in the tournament last year. That was some bullshit at the end of the year. And I know they remember that. And I know right now they're not going to let down in any of these games coming up here. Like right now, they know they got to keep earning their respect. So I like A&M first half here, plus half point.
All right, there we go. A&M first half here for Cab with this game. All right, next 2 games on the rundown here. We've got Florida State, Miami, Auburn, Kentucky. Florida State and Miami. We've got Miami there currently in this game, right around a 14-point home favorite, 155 the total. And then Auburn, Kentucky 5-point home favorite, 141. I like the under in Auburn, Kentucky. I agree with that move down. I think I have to lay Kentucky or don't bet the game. I mean, Auburn to me is toxic right now. Toxic. I mean, it's just absolutely awful the way they're playing. Look at the struggle they had with Ole Miss in their last game. Ole Miss is terrible. They just fired Kermit Davis. A horrendous season. And there's Auburn, life and death against them. I mean, Auburn is just in a really bad way right now. It's not like I'm in love with laying points with Kentucky, but if I had to, I'd prefer the Kentucky side in that game, 100%. And then the other game, I just think bet the over, like we do often with the Miami Hurricanes. I mean, I think that's probably the best way to go. It's pretty high at 154, but I think it could get there. And I'm not taking Florida State against Miami. It's a lot of points, but Florida State's too flighty. Florida State could lose by 6, cover the number. They could get blown out, lose by 20. That wouldn't shock me either. What do you think here, Connor?
It happened in the first game. God damn, the shooting was ugly, and that'll keep the game under. They got to shoot a little bit better today. But years past, this is a different Miami team. They keep betting them. They just keep winning. But this is a ton of points. Well, they were laying 20 to Louisville. This looks like a sleepwalk here. I think Florida State could cover. I haven't bet it yet. And before they got blown out, they had beat him 9 straight. So I think this might be too many points.
Man,
fadeaway.
I'll just go ahead and jump into the Auburn, Kentucky here on this one.
I'm off there, by the way. I'd lay it with Kentucky.
And I'm the other way. I'm off on the other side. But I've got 2 bets on this one. And last time I know I was on Kentucky last game, full game, which worked out. I almost had them first half. Thank fucking God I didn't, because they were up by 15 and they went into half down by 1. And they were up by 15 with like 9 or 8 minutes left. That was just a terrible run of form there before half. But Kentucky's off the bubble finally, because one of the reasons I was getting on Kentucky is because they absolutely had to win. They had to win. Wait, is it Noli's birthday, man? Shout out to our guy Noli knows in the chat.
Holy shit! Happy birthday, Noli! One of the great people of our community here. 100%. Happy birthday! Yep.
One of the first people I started watching capping when I got into this, man. Great capper right there. Happy birthday, my guy.
Happy birthday on that West Coast.
Hell yeah. Anyways, back to this game. What I was saying is Kentucky, they had to win. And that's where I was with Memphis in the last game. I really liked playing these teams when they have to win. And you said it, Ian, they're trending in complete opposite directions right now. And you look at Kentucky at home, 13-3 on the season at home. They're 16-6 as a favorite straight up. And I got in on this at 3.5. I know that 3.5 that's over a bucket. So I know it doesn't mean that just because they win, they cover, but I like my chances at 3.5 when the game gets close to the end. And Auburn just 4-6 on the road right now. And 0-4 on the season as an underdog. So basically what this is saying, and what I've known about this Auburn team is, they beat up on bad schools when they can, except for Ole Miss. They couldn't. They beat up on bad schools, but against better competition, they kind of suck. They're not the best. And Auburn, even furthermore, just 1-4 ATS last 5 games, while Kentucky has gone 9-3 against the spread their last 12. Trending in complete opposite directions. I think Kentucky needs to keep winning here. I got Kentucky first half. I got Kentucky full game.
All right, there we go. Kentucky first half full game here for this one. All right, we go to the next 2 games: West Virginia, Kansas, Syracuse, Pittsburgh. We've got Kansas here, of course, at Fog Allen, laying 10 here against West Virginia, 150 the total, and then Syracuse and Pittsburgh. Pitt 6-point home favorites, 144.5 the total. I'm laying the points. I don't have a strong feel for West Virginia, Kansas. I mean, West Virginia is another one of those teams. They could cover this number, but they've been just too erratic for me. And Kansas at home, I don't love stepping in front of them now at this time of year, especially because we're starting to see them rev up. That was a great win at TCU for them. Very, very good win on Monday. Very impressive. They got everybody on board there. DeJuan Harris, Jalen Wilson, they all played great. McCullough, Grady Dick, everybody outstanding. When they're all going at once, they're a contender to win it all. Kansas, they are, and we saw that against TCU. I like the momentum they're building. I don't want anything to do with West Virginia on the road. Too untrustworthy. I'm off that game, but I'm laying it with Pitt. Syracuse to me that's one of those losses where when you just lay down like that against Clemson and you play zero defense, you wonder if their heads are in it now. Like usually we see Syracuse kind of make a run and get hot at this time of year. We're not seeing it. You got Jim Boeheim making asinine comments on a radio show earlier this week, defending how we always play 2-3 zone all game long, even though it's not working anymore. And his response was, well, it's not. Virginia got blown out by Boston College by 15 points. We're not asking Tony Bennett to play zone now instead of man-to-man. Well, hold on now. They gave up 63 points in that loss to Boston College. Their defense was still fine. They just couldn't make a shot. That's the defense wasn't why they lost that game. Your defense sucks right now, Jim. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's horrible. It's embarrassing to the Syracuse program, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, he's got to go. I mean,
I mean,
he's a Hall of Fame
saying
coach.
shit
Just
that's
time.
he's saying shit that's is asinine right now at this, and that's unfortunate because it's staining a legacy of terrific run for him at Syracuse for all these decades. You're right. He's saying shit that doesn't make any fucking sense right now. It's a shame. Yeah, I like Pitt here, -6. And how do you not bet anything but over in a Syracuse game with a team that just gave up 90-some points in their last game against Clemson? Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, I like the over in the Pitt game. I just don't trust West Virginia. Kansas has just owned them and whipped that ass. I know it's kind of a sleepy spot, but I think you can lay it here with Kansas.
All right,
I want to hit on.
Go ahead.
I want to hit on what Rick J just put in the chat, how he said the game evolves. I know this is a weird comparison to make, but when you were talking about getting rid of the coach, man, it made me think about Jimbo here, how he won't fucking evolve his offense. That defense, we have seen basketball turn into a game where like people are going to shoot threes, right?
Which means that can shred a zone. Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. That zone that Syracuse runs forces people to shoot threes, which is why when Syracuse was against Florida, I was like, yeah, or Florida State, I was like, yeah, I'm all over them. But you look at a team like Pitt right here. I mean, Pitt shoots above average from the 3-point line, 35.7. It's nothing to like go crazy about, but that's enough to where if you leave them open, they're going to start hitting their shots and they're going to shred that zone apart. And it's just what's going to happen. And then you look at this game, their first meeting, Pitt took the opener. It was 84-82, and they were a 3.5 underdog then because it was before people caught. But they dominated on the glass. They had 44 rebounds compared to Syracuse's 35. They were able to exploit that zone, which I was talking about. They had 13 3-pointers in that game. So yeah, this is a spot where Pitt, they're 10-6 ATS at home this season, where the Orange on the other side, they're 1-4 ATS. Yeah, I'd say Pitt or nothing here. It's that simple. I like your bet, Ian, and I might join you. It's pathetic that I have loved this Pitt team so much and haven't made money off of them yet this year. Maybe today's the day I need to.
Yeah, I mean, they've been one of the best ATS teams in the country this year. Incredible. What a job by Jeff Capel. Jeff Capel was, there are people saying he was on the hot seat coming into this season, and now not anymore. Not after this.
I left the game out, didn't I? My bad. I'm
not. West Virginia, Kansas. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm off this one. You look at Jayhawks, I'm sure you guys know I'd only be on Kansas. Jayhawks are 5-0 ATS, their last 5 overall. They're 4-0 their last 4. Against winning teams, which I usually don't look into things like that, but against bigger teams, Kansas shows up and plays. Mountaineers on the other side, they're only 1-7 ATS their last 8 games following a win, and against good teams, like we look against like the quad 1 teams, 1-5 ATS. They don't stack up against good teams. So this is a place at home where I'm definitely not going against Kansas. Sometimes we put into question like, oh, will they care enough to cover the spread? At home in a rocking stadium, yeah, I think they will. I think they probably can cover this spread. I'd be Kansas or nothing.
All right, let's go to our next 2 games here. Washington State, Cal, Virginia, North Carolina. Washington State, Cal is just, it's a pass. I mean, I don't want either team, so I lean under, if anything, there. So as for Virginia and North Carolina, this is a big game. Virginia, had a setback in their last game, obviously. That was a rough one for them against Boston College. And on the flip side, North Carolina, I mean, maybe they are on the verge of missing the tournament. Okay, they are in dire straits right now, North Carolina. They are not assured of a damn thing. They've got to put some wins on the board either now or in the ACC tournament, if they hope to be a tournament team. And I wouldn't even say that Notre Dame win did a lot for them, 63-59. They've got to beat a really quality team, and this would be it. So if you're North Carolina, this has to be, you have to treat this like game 7 of a playoff series. You have to treat this like a national championship game. You really do, because you are on the precipice of the tournament. It could go either way. And right now, I think you're on the outside, honestly, looking in. So they need this badly, a win like this against a good Virginia team. I don't want to bet against North Carolina in a spot like this where it should be max intensity, max motivation. But at the same time, I think Virginia is better than them. I'm not laying 3 with North Carolina, so I'm off that game too. But I don't want to step in front of the Tar Heels in this spot. This is a must for them. They got to have a game like this. They need it badly, desperately. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, they do, but I don't trust them. I don't give a shit. This team cannot
exactly
hit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This team can't hit jump shots. Save their life. They got to pound it inside and get the glass. This should be a tight game. I think low scoring. You know, I'd look at Virginia with the points. I'll probably be off. And what was the other one? Oh, the Wazoo
Washington State
under.
Cal.
Yeah, no bargain here. 125.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm off.
Yeah, I think it's just under. Don't bet aside. Just bet under in that Cal game. What do you think here, Cab?
Man, I've been trying. Like, kind of like I've had some success getting on Kentucky at the right time with them turning it on. I've been trying to get behind USC, trying to think, oh, this is the right time. Here's where they turn it on. I'll just go ahead and say it. I don't think they make the tournament. I don't fucking think they deserve to make the tournament. I can't stand this basketball team. I know this is kind of goofy, but I'm going to throw it out there again because I think it was with Jimmy when I talked about it. Shout out to my guy Dutch because he put me onto this inside info. RJ Davis fucked Caleb Love's girlfriend. I know that sounds stupid, but their locker room is toxic because of it. Like the whole season.
So. That would be a problem.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you inside of the locker room when you've only got a small group of guys, that's actually a problem. And anyway, and I'm not going to go too much more into it, but you look at their shooting percentage, especially their 3-point shooting percentage that we've talked about being so bad all year. Who we need to hit those threes? Davis and Love. Those guys aren't doing it right now, and that's kind of been the letdown on their offense. I think this is a must-win for North Carolina. It's exactly like you just said, but I'm not going against them. North Carolina is just 6-7 ATS at home this season. It's 1-7 ATS last 8 games overall. So you're like, come on, I don't know how I'm supposed to get behind that. I can't do it. So for me, it's Virginia or pass, but I'm not going against UNC at home here.
Yeah. I pretty much feel the same way about that game, all three of us. South Carolina and Tennessee and Florida Vanderbilt, the next two games, both of them in the SEC. We've got Tennessee 23-point home favorites, 130 the total in this game. And we've got the other game is, Florida Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt 3.5-point home favorites, 147. I like Vanderbilt. I think he can lay the point. Like Florida is just they're a mess right now. That was very disheartening the way they played against Kentucky, of course, earlier this week. They're just struggling right now, and I think Vanderbilt can beat them. It's 3.5. It's I would have preferred closer to a pick 'em, but at 3.5, I'll still bet Vanderbilt. Small bet, but I'll get in on Vanderbilt. And then the other game, it's a pass for me. It feels like it's way too many points to trust Tennessee. I mean, Tennessee's not a team I trust as 23-point favorites. But do you want South Carolina after they gave it their all against Alabama? When it's a really below average team that plays their guts out and loses to a good team, I don't trust them the next game to bring that same effort and intensity and performance. They left it all out there against Alabama, and I worry about them now going on the road. They might get just absolutely just crushed in this game by Tennessee. So I think it's a high variance game, that South Carolina Tennessee game. What do you think here, Conor, those two games?
It just seems just a big smash spot for Tennessee. And they need to get just healthy. But I got to say, the Gamecocks, 4-0, the last 4 on the road. You just mentioned the OT game there with Bama. And this went from 20 to 23.5. I don't know if I can get there with this team.
If it goes any higher, I'm going to take something on South Carolina. If it gets higher than this, I have to. If it gets to 24, 25.
24 maybe? God damn. Ugly dog. And the other game, I like Vandy. I'm off, though. I don't even want to lay 3.5.
Yeah. There's going to be a point where I'm tempted by South Carolina if this gets any higher. It's already extremely high. What do you think here, Cap?
Way too high for me to want to bet it. This is going to I kind of like the under, actually, in this South Carolina-Tennessee game, because I think Tennessee is going to do everything they can to keep South Carolina in the 50s, maybe let them maybe struggle to get to 60 in this game. I think Tennessee is going to be angry and play some serious defense. So I kind of like the under there, but I'm off that game completely. And I agree with you, Vanderbilt. Earlier in the season, beginning of the season, Castleton's healthy. Obviously, I'd be like, oh, we're all over Florida here, right? But yeah, this isn't earlier in the season. We're looking at two teams going opposite directions. Vanderbilt's won 4 of their last 5. I don't like that they gave LSU their first win. But Florida on the other side, they've lost 4 of their last 5. Including that 80-88 loss to Vanderbilt. So this is just a spot where, and that was with Castleton. So now you take Castleton out of the lineup for Florida. They're they're even worse going against Vanderbilt at home now. That was at home without Castleton. Yeah, it's Vanderbilt or pass for me.
All right, we continue along. Hit the like button. We've almost got 300 live viewers here for the College Basketball Pub Hub on a Saturday morning. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. All right, Notre Dame, Wake Forest, and the Old Oaken Bucket basketball version, Indiana, Purdue, which will be a good one tonight. I think that's the Fox game tonight, national television. A good game there. We've got Notre Dame, Wake Forest, though. Wake, 6-point home favorites in that game. The total currently at it looks like, let me see, 7-point home favorites, actually. Wake, 150 the total. And then we've got Indiana, Purdue. Purdue, 6.5-point home favorites, 138 the total. I like Indiana, actually, plus the points. I don't want to say it's fade Purdue, but I can't say I'm in love with the way they've played lately. They've hit a little rough patch. It's not been smooth sailing. The guard play, which, look, they got by much of the Big Ten season with the guard play not becoming an issue. It's starting to become an issue. The turnovers have gone up. They've had some issues. I know they crushed Ohio State in their last game, kind of a get-right spot, but let's be honest, Ohio State is absolutely pathetic. So I don't want to go too much into praise for that. And the home court is strong for Purdue. I will give them that. They've won and covered here, I believe, 4 straight here at home. But Indiana, I think, will play better after the loss at Michigan State here in this game. Indiana, of course, got the win 79-74 at Assembly. I still lean Indiana here, plus 6.5, plus 7 here in this game. I think it's a close game. You're right. The matchup, I think it's a matchup edge. You're right. I think that quickness and the feet and the defense and the contesting of shots, all that for TJD, Trace Jackson Davis on Edey is big. It's an excellent point by Coyne in the chat there. And it's enough, I think, to keep in, because if you keep him at least somewhat, contained, you're not going to shut him down, but if you keep him somewhat contained, you're going to have yourself a chance here against Purdue. So I like Indiana plus the points. Notre Dame, Wake Forest. I think I might bet Notre Dame again. Notre Dame has become a nice little money maker for me. I mean, they're playing hard. Mike Bray's out. They clearly love this coach because they're playing their butts off for him down the stretch here. I think they could make that a game against Wake Forest. So I like Notre Dame a little bit there, plus 7. They've been cashing tickets lately. Cab, what do you think of those two games?
So that shout out to the chat, like you said, for pointing it out. That first Indiana Purdue matchup, I think it was Saturday. I think it was a Saturday game because I feel like I was with you when we were talking about it, and I said, I thought Trace Jackson would be enough for Edey. Look, Edey's unstoppable. He's gonna get his points. He's gonna get his rebounds. But like you said, just being able,
the old adage, you won't shut him down, you just hope to contain him. Yeah.
Contain him, exactly. Being able to contain him, and that's what Trace Jackson can do. The first meeting, it was a blast. I watched that game. I had Indiana first half and cashed on it. It was a lot of fun to watch. Edey did have a double-double, and he had 33 points and 18 rebounds, shot 15 from 19, but then you flip it, and you look right at the other side. And on top of that, Indiana still won. So I want to say that Indiana still won with Edey doing that. Jackson Davis went for 25 points, 7 boards. He had 5 blocks that game. I mean, he's the guy that I think can give Edey enough trouble again to where Purdue can't just win with him. I think Purdue does get their revenge here. Like you said, I think they probably do win. I just think 7.5 is too many points. And I think that I think this could come down to the end of the game. I think we might even see fouls for free throws at the end of the game. And I think 7.5 is a spot with Indiana where I like it.
All right. Good stuff indeed. They're liking Indiana here. Anything for you on the other game, Notre Dame, Wake?
You said it about Notre Dame. Man, Notre Dame, they've been covering spreads like you just said here. My only thing, and I hate to go, right up against you with that. My only thing with Notre Dame is even though they've been covering spreads, they haven't been winning games. And unless that team is betting on themselves, they don't feel good about what they've been doing. And I can tell you they're not betting on themselves. No 10-18 team is betting on themselves. And they still haven't been winning. So I guess they've won 3 of their last, or no, they haven't won any of their last 5. But they still haven't been winning. And I don't know. This is a spot for Wake Forest. You're coming off 2 road games, 2 tough losses, tough loss to Miami. They played Miami good that game. I know they lost by 9 points, but that was a good game. I mean, I had Miami ATS, and it was a sweat down to the end. North Carolina, they kind of got stopped by them, but they're coming home. And you look at the first meeting between these two teams, 84-60 or 81-64. And that was at Notre Dame. So Wake Forest kind of waxed them at Notre Dame because what Wake Forest does is plays Notre Dame's game. No defense. They shoot the ball really well. They shoot threes well. They move the ball around, and this is just I kind of lean Wake here. I actually might get to the window with this one too.
All right, lean and Wake. Hey, I like Wake as a team, and I like that coach, and it pains me actually to think about going against them, but it's just Notre Dame's been good to me. All right, in DePaul and Marquette, Virginia Tech and Duke. The next two games, we got Marquette 15-point home favorites, 152, and Duke
I got to interrupt you. Duke, Notre Dame, out of all those losses, they haven't lost one of them by more than 6.5 points.
Yep.
So go ahead. I'm sorry. I just got to say you're right about that. They're losing, but they're not doing it by any kind of number whatsoever.
That's exactly what I'm hoping for today. Close win for Wake Forest. That would be great. DePaul and Marquette. DePaul, I'll give DePaul credit. I mean, they battled Butler, but they lost 59-58. But I don't on the road, other than the Seton Hall game, they've been blown out by, and the Georgetown game, they only lost by 5. Throw those two out, and it's been a 14-point loss at Xavier, 16-point loss at Villanova, 11-point loss at Providence. I don't know if I trust them on the road here. Marquette, though, laying 15 is a little bit dicey just because of the fact that, Marquette defensively comes and goes. So I think the over might hit in this game. But again, we're talking about a very high total, 152. But I lean over, nothing on the side. And then Virginia Tech, Duke. I like the over here a little bit. I think Virginia Tech can score on Duke, and Duke can score on Virginia Tech. But more than anything, I like Virginia Tech +7. I mean, I don't trust Duke laying numbers like this. Even at home where they've won, they've had some games. They've had a lot of games, Cab, where they've won, but they've not covered. A lot of close games. And for Virginia Tech, I expect them to play with that, hopefully like North Carolina, that intensity and motivation, that, hey, desperation, because they're right on the bubble. It could go either way for Mark. For his team there and be able to, in order to get in the tournament, they need a win. They need a win and they need a quality one, especially on the road. The quad one wins are important. Virginia Tech could use one. I think you get a good game from the Virginia Tech Hokies here in this basketball game today. Duke hasn't always been covering these kind of numbers at home. A lot of their wins have been by 6, by 4, that kind of margin. I think it's a close game. Virginia Tech brings it today, knowing that they're right on the edge of the tournament bubble. I like Virginia Tech here +7. Cab, what do you think?
Yeah, I do too. And I was against Virginia Tech on that last game with Miami. But with this Duke team, the reason they struggle, I feel like, to cover these spreads is because they're young, man. There's so many like holes within these freshmen, within their offense too. You look at their 3-point shooting, 33.4%. They're 231st in the country. Field goal percentage overall, just 44.3%, which is way down for a Duke team, 197th in the country. They're only putting up 71.9 points per game. And I guess what I'm getting at is, could I see him beating Virginia Tech here? Yeah, I could see him winning, but I'm not laying any points with Duke in this situation. I think Virginia Tech needs this. Well, I don't think they do need it. Like you said, they need this win badly. Both of these teams need it badly. And I don't think Duke's the type of team that I want to lay a number with against another team that needs a win here badly. So I'm off.
All right, there we go. So, Virginia Tech, Mike Young, I think he has his team ready to go here in this game today. We'll see if that's the case. All right, USC, Utah, LSU, Ole Miss. We've got USC 2.5-point road favorites, 141.5 the total in this game. This is tough. This is not a spot I'm laying it with USC on the road. This is that tough Colorado to Utah transition, back-to-back road games, and the second part of that is always the most difficult part. And so I think this is a tricky little spot for USC, especially after that game was so easy for them against Colorado. I like the effort from Utah against UCLA. UCLA is it's red hot right now, and they only lost by 7 in spite of the fact that, they're still a very depleted, shorthanded group dealing with some injuries, Madsen being the key one. We'll see if Rolly Worster is going to be back here for Utah. He's a key bench reserve here for this team. Questionable to return here, but spot-wise, it feels like Utah all the way here. So I kind of think I'll get involved with Utah here, +2.5 at home here. USC, again, that second game of that Colorado-Utah or vice versa, back-to-back on the road is very, very difficult. And then the other game, LSU, Ole Miss. What do you get from Ole Miss? Now they know the coach has been fired, Kermit Davis. It's a bad team. It's like usually sometimes you get the first game coaching bump, and maybe there's some truth to that. but I'm not laying 4.5. I don't care if they fired the coach and they bring a solid effort today in that first game after the firing. I don't trust Ole Miss right now at all, let alone laying points. But I also don't want any part of LSU. So if anything there, maybe with these two teams just, not playing for anything except exercise, maybe they just go out there. Who cares about defense? Up and down the floor, not much defense. So maybe 136 it goes over. Because I'll tell you what, these LSU games lately, I've cashed a few of these LSU games with the totals in the 130s. They've been too low, and they've been going over them. So I might go over that number there with LSU and Ole Miss. What do you think here, Connor? Back with us at LSU, Ole Miss, USC, Utah.
Yeah, I'm off LSU, Ole Miss. Yeah, this SC big win, beat down Colorado. I was hoping to get a little bit more here with Utah. You talked about Worcester, if he's going to play or not. I think this total, SC's gone over a lot, but I think now this has gone a little bit too high. I'm going to look at the under here.
All right, liking the under there in that USC-Utah game. Cab.
I'm all over it. I got first half. I got full game with USC here. I was on them last game too. This is they're still not at 20 wins. They still haven't got to that 20-win mark yet. And I personally think that USC hasn't gotten respect this season for as good of a team as they are. That's kind of one thing I've been talking about. They just seem to be undervalued constantly. And they've got 3 games left this season. Okay, so in their last 3 games. They got to bolster that position. They got to get higher because right now, according to the bracketology, they're in the play-in game, which, they don't want to be in the play-in game for the tournament. They've got the 3-game winning streak going, but they can improve that. This is one where they need to win because their next 2 games are Arizona and Arizona State. I think they could beat Arizona State. Arizona is going to be tough. We all know Arizona is going to be a tough win for them. So instead of looking at it as a look ahead, they need to be looking at it as we need to fucking win this game right here, right now, today. And that's what I hope that the locker room's talking about. That's what I hope they're setting up for. So, yeah, on this game, I got USC first half full game. Utah struggled a little bit down the stretch against quality opponents. That's one of the things I really look into is the quality of opponents versus just the wins and losses. And USC has won 6 out of the last 10 meetings against Utah. I don't usually go into that much, but, they've been ahead. And on the road, USC is 5-4 against the spread this season. So not too bad. And in the last 17 games, this is where I say I feel like they've been getting undervalued. In the last 17 games, USC is 12-5 against the spread. Whereas you look at the flip side, Utah's just 1-5-1 the last 7 games overall. Utah also, when you look at this, they beat the shit out of USC earlier this season. I said that backwards. USC beat the shit out of Utah earlier this season. 15-point game. It wasn't really close, but Utah did have a backcourt issue there. But
yep.
I just think that with Ellis, I think Utah's going to have trouble keeping pace with the USC here. I got USC first half. I got USC full game.
All right, USC first half and USC full game here. I like the braveness here because these are tricky spots. These back-to-back on the road and the altitude. So we'll see if USC, they are the better team. There's no doubt about that. You do have the better team in this matchup here, and we'll see if USC does get the job done. All right, we're going to save St. Mary's Gonzaga till the end. We're going to do these next 3 games first. San Diego State, New Mexico, Oregon State, Loyola Marymount, Pepperdine. San Diego State, New Mexico, this kind of feels like San Diego State's the better team, okay? They definitely are, in my opinion, and New Mexico's been wishy-washy lately. But I don't like going against these spots where these desperate home teams, because New Mexico, the more they're playing mediocre, the more they're playing themselves, I think in the position where they're very tenuous as far as the tournament. So they definitely need a win like this. They need to play well tonight. They got to try to get a win of this magnitude against San Diego State. I think, it should be a maximum raucous environment at the Pitt. It's a great late night game. I don't want to go against New Mexico when I think this is a spot for them where they should bring their best. But is it going to be good enough? Because I just think the Aztecs are just outstanding. They're a better team, better defense. So that's the thing. I think San Diego, if I were to bet who do you think's a better team, who's going to win the game, I would take the Aztecs. But this is a strong situational, motivational angle on New Mexico. And for that reason, I'm going to stay off the Aztecs. And quickly on the other 2, Oregon State. I mean, Oregon could roll in that game, but I don't feel totally comfortable laying 9 on the road with them. But they should get the better of Oregon State. And then Loyola Marymount Pepperdine. I'm just going to bet over again with Loyola Marymount, with Pepperdine. Pepperdine games, every game's been going over the total. There should be a lot of points in that game. I think it goes over 159.5 in that one. And look, didn't Pepperdine cover again in the other night?
Yeah,
I think they did. They got inside the number against Santa Clara in that game. They're not
a
defending
2-point game,
lick.
I think.
Yeah, they're not defending a lick, but they're scoring so much, they're still covering. So I lean Pepperdine again here, but I like the over more. I think it's another good over there. What do you think of those three games, Connor? San Diego State, New Mexico, Oregon State, Loyola Marymount, Pepperdine.
Oh yeah, they got inside the number. 91-82.
Yeah,
so they got. I still think you can get over. It's already moved to 159. I mean, it's starting to once to 160, but that hasn't been a problem for their games. 160, it's still going over. The tricky thing now, San Diego State 1.5. This is now 3. New Mexico's reeling, some injuries, but this is a desperate game here at home at the Pitt. I'm gonna wait. I want to look at this throughout the day. Obviously, this is the late game. Man, I'd like to get maybe a hook if I'm gonna look New Mexico. And the last one, Oregon State. Oregon State's horrible. I got to take the points with them. I got to take the 9 with them at home. Good rivalry here. That's too many. And I'm going to look at the under. It's 129.5. I might be on both.
All right. And all right. Final game of our marquee game segment here. Revenge game for Gonzaga. The last time Gonzaga had a revenge game when they lost to the team previously in the season, we know what happened. It was Loyola Marymount, and they absolutely obliterated that team in a revenge spot. Can they do the same tonight against St. Mary's? We've got Gonzaga here, 5.5 point home favorites, 141 the total here at the Kennel. I love Gonzaga here, -5. This is actually, and normally Gonzaga games, I'm off the game and I don't feel strong. I feel strong that they come to play tonight and they win by up double digits. I'd say at least 10. And you're only having to lay 5.5. I trust this team. Their offense is unstoppable right now. They're playing great. And if you watch that first game in Moraga, that little gym where St. Mary's plays, Gonzaga had St. Mary's done with about 10 minutes to go in the second half. Like Gonzaga was in control. Yeah, in the first half, they were the better team. They were up by, I think, 10 or so in halfway through the second half. And then Aiden Mahaney just went nuts for St. Mary's, making every shot. And he's a hell of a player. That's a hell of a little player he is for St. Mary's. And then all of a sudden, Gonzaga defense kind of lapsed, which has happened a lot this year. Their offense went cold. St. Mary's turned up the heat defensively. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, the lead is dwindling. And St. Mary's ties it in the final minute. And then, of course, in overtime, they got all the momentum, crowds going nuts, and they ended up winning in overtime against Gonzaga. But Gonzaga was the better team for like 30-plus minutes out of the 40 against St. Mary's in that game, and I think Gonzaga gets them here. And look, St. Mary's, since that win against Gonzaga, they've been particularly mediocre. Look at these games since they beat Gonzaga. They've been not great. Barely escaped BYU. You know, they've had some narrow escapes here of late, this Gonzaga, the St. Mary's team. The Loyola Marymount game, they ended up struggling and losing to them. They haven't played great since that Gonzaga. It's almost like they got that Gonzaga win and they've taken the last few games off, St. Mary's, because they haven't played great basketball since that win. I like Gonzaga here, -5, -5.5. What do you think here, Connor?
Yeah, I like Gonzaga. They're just rolling it off. But you know what I like? I like the first half a little bit better. Right away, jump out, place rocking. I'm worried. The only thing full game is that you just talked about it, Babano. Maybe the defense, some turnovers, comes to play. They hit some
I hope
shots.
they're up by more than 5 at that point. It's not going to matter, but you're right. I get it. Definitely.
Yeah. That's all I mean. Full game I don't mind full game, but I think first half is the way to look with Gonzaga in this one. I think they come to play here at home.
All right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it might be a good first half full game split kind of game with Gonzaga here in this one. But we got Cab back. Cab, it's the late night game. The last time Gonzaga played a team in revenge mode, Loyola Marymount on the road, they destroyed them. Does that happen here as they try to avenge a loss to St. Mary's earlier this year? What do you think, St. Mary's Gonzaga?
Yeah, I can't disagree with it being a first half, maybe even first half full game spot. You look at Gonzaga against BYU, they put up 88, but every game other than that in their last 5 games, they put up not just over 95. How about that? Not just over 90, over 95. This offense is absolutely fucking humming right now. And you look at the other side. I know St. Mary's can store. I know St. Mary's can score it too. But they had a couple letdowns. They had 71, 62. They have a 74 in there. They've been slowing down just a little bit, and they're coming to a home court against an angry Gonzaga team, like you just said. Yeah, I'd look Gonzaga first half full game here. I mean, this is a team that shoots 52.6% on the season, and they shoot even better at home. So good luck.
All right, there we go. Liking Gonzaga here as well in this one. All right. That means we've got a little bit more time than usual for, we got about 10 or 15 minutes left in the show. We try to be done in 90 minutes or so. Games that we like on this Saturday slate that we have not talked about yet. Connor, we'll start with you. What pleases your eyes here in terms of the betting board in college basketball today for the games we haven't talked about yet?
Yeah, I think this Dartmouth game over 144.
Yep.
Versus Penn. I think it was too light there at that number. It gets over. I haven't bet Monmouth. I'm going to wait on them. I've stayed off them the last few. I'm going to look at that more. UTSA, Florida International. I think this was low at 148. I think we go over there. IUPUI. You on it? IUPUI plus 15.5. I got. And bet I took 147. I was like, come on. This is crazy. Youngstown, and now it's at 152. I didn't think it'd move 5 points. They've changed their whole offense, IUPUI. The slow down, horrible. They're getting up and down lately, and we saw them outright win with Robert Morris.
There's value over. I like the over in that game because of that. They've changed their pace, changed their spots. Yep. Exactly.
I mean, the 147 I had to grab. I mean, 152 now. I still think he could get there. We know Youngstown probably wins, but I don't know. They're not great defensively on the road. So no. I definitely like that there. To the extra board here, Campbell plus 4.5. I think it's too many points. I'm looking at Gardner-Webb, Upstate. I'm looking at Upstate, but I'm looking at the total a little bit, the under 133. This game has moved too much. I'm a big Longwood fan, but all the way to 6 now. I think Asheville's just as good or better. I think the move is too big here. I think 6 points with Asheville. I want to take that now that it's moved. And I'm looking at a couple too here. Bryant plus 2.5 and Mississippi Valley State. I believe they're plus 2.5. A couple of home dogs on the extra board.
Mississippi Valley State's another classic case of late season after early season problems. Now they're red hot and they're undervalued and they're cashing tickets almost every time now. The last few games, Mississippi Valley State. So I love those teams at this time of year. Suck early. And then all of a sudden now here late February, they're undervalued just as they're playing better, and the betting markets don't react to it because they've been bad all year. So they've got the power rating is down in the sewer, and now they're starting to play better. And, now they're undervalued and they're cashing tickets. That's Louisville's like that. Notre Dame's like that. And now, of course, Mississippi Valley State. There's another example. Monmouth was like that for a long period of time. Yep. Great teams at this time of year. The ones that suck early, and now they're starting to play better, and they're undervalued now. Cab, did you stick mostly to the games we've already talked about? Anything else you want to
add? No, but I promise one day, since we've only got a couple more Saturdays before the tournament start, I'm going to come in here with just every game on the added board cap for you guys.
Well, you don't have to worry about that because the games are dwindling now on these Saturday shows after today. Next Saturday, half the conferences will be in conference tournament play, so there'll be less games next Saturday. And then next Saturday will be the last Saturday of major conference regular season next Saturday. And then they get into the conference tournaments the following week. Not this week, but next week. So, we'll have less games on Saturday. We'll have more time to take apart the games, which is good. We won't have to rush and go rapid fire nearly as much as we have the last several weeks. But good stuff. We appreciate everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. My games, of course. I almost went to best bets before giving out my games. Holy shit.
Rip it.
Yeah, this segment takes 10 fucking minutes. So, we got to give it its time. You're right. Going through my card for the day. All right. I'm on Stony Brook. You talk about ugly dogs, but dog that's cashed a couple of times for me. Stony Brook, 20 against Charleston, 20 in a conference game. It's just a few too many, in my opinion. And Charleston, defensively can be somewhat leaky at times. So I think Stony Brook hangs in that number. I like Wright State, Detroit over. It's very high at 161, but I think it's high for a reason. It goes over the total there. St. Thomas, North Dakota, another over. Hampton, North Carolina. AT&T, as our guy Connor Mack says, North Carolina A&T over 153 in that game. I think there's a lot of points there. UTEP FAU, we're mining for units with another UTEP over. Suddenly they've been kind of going over the total. Western Illinois, North Dakota State, another over. Brown Columbia, another over. Buffalo Toledo, another over. Princeton Harvard, another over. Dartmouth Penn, which Connor Mack mentioned, another over there. So a bunch of overs in those games. Utah Tech +1 against Arlington. They're starting to play a little bit better, and I don't trust Arlington. It's been a tough year for them, the Mavericks. So I think Utah Tech gets the win there. South Dakota State, I think they bring it today against Oral Roberts. Has really not much to play for. They've won the number 1 seed in the regular season title already. I think South Dakota State, that game's bigger to them today against Oral Roberts than the other way around. I think the Jackrabbits +5 are a good look in that game. UT Martin Moorhead State over. Ball State Eastern Michigan over. What else have we got here? Louisiana Tech and Middle Tennessee. I like MTSU there. Louisiana Tech was horrible the other night. I'm not interested in them. They're going in the wrong direction, but it's 8.5. It's kind of moved in the wrong direction. Let me see what else here. Little Rock Lindenwood over 148.5. Southeast Missouri State, Edwardsville over 153.5. Should see points there. Southern Indiana, Tennessee State over, and I like Tennessee State there as well as a home favorite in that game. Kent State Bowling Green over 151. Southern Utah, Sammy. I kind of like Southern Utah a little bit, +5.5. I like that team. The Thunderbirds, they road underdog. They've been decent in that role. I think you can see them cover there. Portland State, Montana State over 145.5. What else have we got here? LaSalle keeps playing pretty decent basketball. They might be in a good spot at George Washington. George Washington played a crazy overtime game earlier this week. It might be tough for them to rebound after that. So LaSalle +3, might be worth a look there against George Washington in that one. Let me see what else here. We've got Chattanooga, Wofford. I like Wofford there. Chattanooga's just kind of hit the shits. They've fallen on hard times. So Wofford at home is a short home favorite. I think can get the job done there. Lean over in that game as well. I think. Look, Boise State's better than San Jose State, but San Jose State's been a problem for them. They've consistent problems trying to beat San Jose State, especially win by margins. So that could be a sneaky upset pick there. Upset special.
They need a win too.
Or as a home dog. Yep.
Yeah, San Jose State. Yep.
I think they're live there in that game against Boise. Cornell, Yale over. You mentioned UTSA, FIU over. I like that one. Let me see what else here. Elon +4.5 against Delaware. Again, Elon's been a good team to me. I'm back on them there. Towson, short road favorites against Wilmington. I like them to get the job done there. Northridge, Long Beach over the total. You mentioned Youngstown and IUPUI. That total's been smashed, but I agree. Same with SMU, South Florida. That game will go over the total. We've talked about South Florida a lot.
Yeah.
They've given up on defense, so I think there's a lot of points in that game. I'm back to a UAB over. The last game stayed under because Rice just got shut down, but Western Kentucky's a better offensive team. I think UAB, they'll put up enough points, and UAB will score their usual array of points. So I'm on the over in that game. Eastern Washington, Idaho State over the total as well. Let me see what else. Sacramento State +6.5 against Montana. I think they can compete in that game. I'm back on UC San Diego +6. I cashed with them in their last game. I should have cashed the game before that. They failed to cover against UC Davis by like a half point. Santa Barbara, I know they beat Long Beach, but that was a big game, and they snuck it out, barely.
Yeah,
lucky to win that game. They were trailing most of it. I like UC San Diego, the Tritons there, plus points at home against UCSB, the Gauchos, in that game. Santa Clara, San Diego probably goes over. Very high, though, at 161.5. San Fran, BYU, I like the over there a little bit. Irvine and Hawaii. Look, Hawaii lost to Riverside. We all liked Riverside, Connor and I, in that game against Hawaii, but I think Hawaii doesn't want to lose 2 in a row at home. I think they can maybe beat Irvine. I'd lean to Hawaii there as a short home favorite in that game. A small bet for me there in that one. And the added board, St. Francis, New York, plus points and over against Fairleigh Dickinson. Lehigh +3 against Boston. High Point, Winthrop over. I'm on Campbell with Connor Mack. I agree with that. Holy Cross +4 against Army, and Army Holy Cross over the total 146. I'm on both of those today. What else have we got? We're coming down to the end finally. I'm exhausted. I need a drink after this. Colgate Navy over 142.5. I'm on that. I think Navy's actually a good play there. Navy +2. That's another spot where Colgate's won the conference already, the Patriot League, #1 seed. They've wrapped everything up. It's probably a more important game to Navy than it is to Colgate. They're at home. They're a slight home dog. I think Navy might be – it's a good situational. It's a good spot play. Navy, they're +2 against Colgate in that game. Bryant, you mentioned them. I like them a little bit, +2.5. I'm always interested in over the total of a Bryant game over 151. You're right. Longwood's good, Connor, but it's up to 6. I liked Longwood initially. I got mine. It was -4 when I first looked at the line. It's up to -6. I agree. I mean, the value's getting away now if you like Longwood, but and Nashville's not a bad team, so you might be able to look.
There's a couple of hooks now too, but man, 6.5.
No doubt. Incarnate Word started to cash some tickets for me. I kind of like them at a pick'em at home against A&M Commerce in that game, and I like New Hampshire. +11 against UMass Lowell's really good, but New Hampshire's starting to play better basketball. I think it's a few too many points in that game. And then you mentioned Mississippi Valley State, and I agree with you there. I think they're worth a look there, +2 against Arkansas Pine Bluff. I would look also toward New Jersey and Tech and Albany over the total. And then New Orleans has taken money against Lamar up to -4 as road favorites, and I agree. I think New Orleans is a good side there as road favorites. There you go. Woo! Time for best bets. All right. Hit the like button. We appreciate it, everybody. We'll get to best bets in just a second, right after we hear from Manscaped and Southtown 101. All right, Southtown 101, when you're there, stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke, Southtown 101, and manscaped.com. Get 20% off and free shipping with promo code PubSports. People in the chat talking about Eastern Washington. You know what? That makes sense situationally. They got the chance to break that record. That's true. I just immediately gravitated to the over. I didn't really get into the side in that game and making a case for either side. I just like points in that game, but the more I look at it, and you mentioned that, yeah, that Eastern Washington situational angle -5 there might be worth a look. And look, they are a very good team. They've run away with that Big Sky regular season conference title, but so this time of year, maybe you don't have much to play for. Well, they do have something to play for with that record on the line. So I don't mind that look on Eastern Washington for sure based on that today. So, yeah, good bet. I think that's actually a good side. All right. Yeah, you're right, Nasty Nate. We shouldn't have a best bet segment. 300 live viewers. Why the hell is there, only 50 likes? That's ridiculous, guys. Come on, hit that like button. Let's go. Should be better than that. Should be much higher than that. Let's go. Hit that like button. We know it's a Saturday morning. You're still waking up, but all it takes is a little clickety-click of the mouse. That's all it takes. Clickety-click to hit that like button. 293 live viewers. We appreciate it very much. But again, hit that like button. Because we're so nice, we'll still go forward with best bets. But that's a good point, Nasty Nate. We should say no best bets till we get to 150 likes. So hit it. Hit that like button. We appreciate it very much. All right. It is time for best bets to wrap it up. Connor Mack, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bets here for a Saturday?
The IUPUI, the totals move too much, even though they cover that 15.5. But let's go to the early here. Texas Tech -2. We're seeing the 2.5s now, but they're still 2s. I think they get it done at home. And give me this over. Dartmouth, Penn, one of my other favorite overs. Over 144. I think that's way too low.
There you go. Especially that Dartmouth team, man. That defense can just be non-existent sometimes. But their offense has picked it up. I remember I cashed a team total with them recently against who was it? I think it was Cornell, I think. Yeah, and it got over the team total. Like, their offense has picked up big time. Dartmouth, big green of Dartmouth there. So, yeah, I like that. Dartmouth Penn over the total. It's on my card as well. Cab, best bet. What do you got?
I'm going to just let them look at me until we get to 150. So.
There we go.
You got to mute yourself.
I'm just kidding. I got you guys. But for real, it ain't hard, man. You've been sitting here listening.
We're not that
your fingers too, you fat, lazy motherfuckers. All right, let's go. Best bets right here. I got Baylor -3.5 full game. I know I usually go first half. I'm going full game with Baylor here. I got USC on the money line in the first half, -119. I paid a little juice for that one. And then let's go with Kentucky, full game -3.5 for my other one.
All right, there you go. Kentucky and Baylor, the two sides to get it done here for Cab with his best bets. My best bet, I'm not usually much of a bigger game best bet guy, but look, the last couple weeks, last week with Kansas State over Iowa State, it worked out. I'm going to one of the big games tonight in college basketball. Revenge is a dish best served cold, and I think Gonzaga is going to serve some revenge tonight against St. Mary. I didn't expect this number to be this low, and I think it's because of some of the earlier struggles with Gonzaga. I expected maybe more to around 7.5, 8 here with Gonzaga, especially with the revenge angle factored in, but it's only 5. Some books have 5.5, some still have 5. I'm going with Gonzaga here, -5 against St. Mary's. I think they get the job done. The last time they were in revenge this year against Loyola Marymount, we know what happened. They destroyed that team, and that was on the road. Now they're here at home against this St. Mary's team, which oddly enough has not played well since beating Gonzaga. They've been very lackluster. So I like Gonzaga here, -5 against St. Mary's. That'll be my best bet here for this Saturday college basketball card. That'll wrap it up. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. And again, we'll be back next Saturday, college basketball pub-up. Next Saturday's show will be great because we've got smaller conferences and some of them in conference tournament play. A few less regular season games, so it'll be a show we'll be able to talk about more games and talk more in depth about them as well. So good stuff. We'll be back, Conor and I, on Monday with the Net Profit Show at 5 p.m. Eastern. We got lots going on the channel, including UFC live stream tonight. So make sure you check that out here on Pub Sports Radio. Good stuff indeed. Pubapalooza 2 next month. Definitely looking forward to that as well. Good stuff for Conor Mack and Daby Cab. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Saturday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will talk to you again next Saturday, once again, for another edition of the College Basketball Pub Hub Show right here on Pub Sports Radio.
Pubapalooza 2 on the horizon. We're going to have live shows popping off in the South Towns 101. We're going to have a poker tournament, a par 3 golf tournament, UFC San Antonio on the Saturday night. A lot of excitement. Pubapalooza 2, baby.